Okay, two things. One is these design rules from what we were talking about before, which is basically like you're somewhere in your code you're defining exactly how. Sorry, somewhere in your app you're defining like what are the design systems for this tool. So like here's the component library, here's how they're installed, and all of this was written by AI, but it's helpful to just have so that when you want to add a new component, you can say like use these design rules as you add it to our thing so that it knows like all the variables. And then the other thing, and what we're going to do here is I really wanted to demo this feature live, but when I had Codex run it, it took 30 minutes. So I don't think we want to sit here for 30 minutes and watch it. So I already built this feature, but what I'll show you is the implementation spec that I gave it before we started. So let's go ahead and, okay, I'm gonna do something bad here, but I'm gonna use Claude because it's a bit faster. What are the branches? Okay, again, it's funny. I've given it the same command and it did know that the macro calculator branch was the one I was talking about, but sometimes not. Yes, switch over to macro calculator. Sometimes whisper flow is kind of cool. It will I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it does have some understanding of where you are on your computer. And so what happened there was I said switch over to macro calculator, but it knew that we were in this file, and so it added a similar sounding file because they're like what I said didn't make sense. So that was a mistake, but it's kind of interesting to see how that worked. Okay, apparently just go ahead and switch to that branch. Okay, so now we are in the right folder. And so the implementation spec that I gave to this thing, at some point we committed a implementation doc, or can you try to find the implementation doc that we had in this project? And then this will be the last thing we look at.
Cool.
So now kind of putting all of this together, we have our design system and we have this testing philosophy. And so when I actually had Codex build this feature, I use a just super in-depth spec like this one, where if we look at it here, it just has like everything. It shows the architecture, the data flow, the API that we're going to use, all the different kind of like responses that we could get, implementation details, and it really is like laying out the testing and exactly how each of these are expected to work. So when I gave this to Codex, it was pretty awesome because it would just implement it and then run tests, and then the test would fail, and then it would run again, and then I gave it like a URL to test with, and it would run that, and it would be able to see like exactly what it was supposed to get, and like when it wouldn't get that, it would run it again. And so it took about 35 minutes, but I didn't have to touch it at all once it started. And it literally, like, for one of the first times, because I feel like this is the dream of this sort of like agentic coding, is that you can just give it like a medium-sized feature and it can just build it. That has not been the case, but this was the first time when I was building this feature that I actually saw it. And so if we want to just kind of see what this looks like, kind of round this out here. Okay, so we will give it a video again. Maybe we can use the same one we used before. And again, the other thing that I will call out is we had our design system with those badges for those different sort of information that we can get back. So we'll see if those were implemented correctly as well. Ta-da! So what it did is, and that was a relatively complicated feature because it had to, get these ingredients, run them each by the USDA API, get them back, calculate the totals, and then divide by the number of servings, and then display them with that new thing that we had in our design system. And we see it worked. Like it was literally able to get all those macros and then put them in here. And so this is, yeah, it's awesome. And that's the type of feature where, normally if I was just like coding it in a normal way without trying to like have this really super good doc to start out with, you test it piece by piece and you're really in the loop. Whereas this way, you're very in the loop at the beginning and you're making sure that spec is good. And as your engineering skills improve, and mine are still improving as well, then you get to the point where you can actually have it sort of do these things much more powerfully. And that's why like even the nature of like most engineering work is really starting to change for engineers who have started to pick this stuff up, where now you can spend a lot of time up front on the architecture and the implementation.
I hope you enjoyed that short clip. You can check out the full episode here.